You're okay. We can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure. Just getting things going here. Okay. And starting with the slides. Check where you are.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, there we go. All right. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time out from your busy schedule. I'm sure everybody's working hard from home to join us on this customer service management and field service management presentation. I'd like to start with looking at some of the critical outcomes that our customers have been looking at or hoping to accomplish with ServiceNow as we find ourselves in an unprecedented and uncertain times with this pandemic. Here at GSI, we've done lots of ServiceNow, BMC, Remedy, other solutions, as Brittany said in the beginning of the call. What I'd like to start with is explain what our customers have expected and what they've realized as a positive outcome from past ServiceNow projects. When you look at the Venn diagram on the right-hand side, there are certain things that provide value in the customer's mindset of what they perceive to be the positive sort of value, their preferences and business outcomes that have been derived from the implementation of ServiceNow. In generally speaking, when customer service management, field service management are considered for an implementation or by customer, it's in the context of providing a better quality of service, providing better field support, solve current resource constraints that everyone has with, the pandemic making field and customer service work very difficult with call centers, assets, resources being limited and scarce. They're also looking at improving and optimizing processes where shipping, warehousing, logistics, last mile delivery are concerned. And what I'd like to share at the beginning of the presentation is some of the outcomes, challenges, and use cases that we've seen in the industry where customers have implemented customer service management and field service management, then give you an overview on what the tools, technologies, and function features of those products are, and then go into a demo. And I'd like to make this interactive. I have the question screen up, so along the way, if you have any questions, please ask, and what I'll do is I'll try to answer them as I go through the presentation, so you don't have to wait till the very end. So with this customer service management, no matter what the general theme, if you will, across whatever the industry, whatever the size of the client may be, what most customers are trying to accomplish is providing a customer-centric, customer sort of perspective on the quality of service that have been delivered. And right now, the model has shifted from the past where the customer is not being dictated and kind of, given a solution in a situation where here's what we built and here's the product that you're going to consume. The IDLE model with the new version, IDLE 4, that came out last year, the way online platform and this interactive sort of world that we live in, clients are working with vendors to co-create what the company will, consume, and in a financially, in the way that the customers are going to expect their end customers to consume their products and services. So this is a mutually sort of an exercise where everyone comes together to adopt the process, business model, and deliver a truly end-to-end customer experience while resolving customer pains and frustrations. And when you create this, or when you co-create this value stream to facilitate an outcome with a service or a product that your company offers, What I'd like to show you in the next slide is the challenges that are being overcome by our customers in terms of customer service and in areas where you're providing support and services for products and services that are being offered. The key challenges that the customer service management, field service management products help to alleviate are improving your end customer's overall experience. They would like to secure a positive financial outcome, which usually means that they're making better use of their recruiting, training, labor, equipment, time spent on addressing issues. These are some of the key challenges, but there are a lot more that goes behind the scenes. And it's not always tied to what the customer perceives, because you're also looking at building a trust and a loyalty in the service that you're providing. You're building that with that relationship with your customers. You're driving revenue. You're driving to reduce cost, improve productivity of your resources, and you're also driving to reduce waste. For example, a client for a product family that we've had wanted to support a site. They've had inconsistent service experience from the end users, where their portal had a different sort of a view for each product that was being offered and maintained, and that required a dedicated development team. So that's the type of productivity. That's where you're trying to increase productivity and reduce the type of waste that we saw there. And you're also looking at expanding into other markets and offering other products. And the other sort of challenges that we see is agent spends a lot of time answering calls. They continue to answer and take routine, questions where password resets and other things that you commonly see in a call center. They're using multiple applications, and they're doing swivel chairs between applications. Sometimes the cases get passed around, and multiple agents, kind of work on it, and it leads into a frustration on the customer's part, which reduces the CSAT scores. Last year, we saw major outages with, large airlines, and that really drove their CSAT scores down. Now, I'd like to share some of the case studies that we've seen in the marketplace with customer service management, field service management. There's a client that we worked with which wanted to use ServiceNow to enhance their customer experience, provide better tools, technologies to their staff to service their customers, drive brand loyalty, and have a better customer engagement experience. There was another client where it was in the manufacturing sector. And here we have other features, functions that can be leveraged, where you have audit, compliance, regulatory type of things that come up in certain industry, where your end customers, partners, and customers are at times working with you on addressing and solving and working on the cases that are open or work orders that are being open. And in this situation, a domain separation model could be leveraged and was leveraged from ServiceNow, where data is separated, but processes that are built at a higher level for incident, problem, change, etc., can be pushed down into multiple domains. So when other business units or customers are onboarded onto the ServiceNow platform, data is segregated, but the process is shared, which really alleviates the administration, where each business unit is not spinning up and managing their own instance of ServiceNow. Another example is in an automotive sector, where you have an agent workspace, communities, case management workflows, and these are future functions that I'll get more into being leveraged by ServiceNow, where work is being pushed out to the field, pushed out to the agents based on their skills, based on their availability. So what you're able to do is not necessarily wait for an agent to come available on a shift and work cases, but have the cases teed up and ready for the agents based on their availability, workload, and experience. So the other thing I'd like to clarify in this slide is CSM can clarify who is calling you and who's requesting information. There's an omni-channel aspect to customer service management that drives work into ServiceNow from a mobile interface, from chat, email, or a phone call. And there's not a lot of competitors to ServiceNow in this space that has a truly sort of an end-to-end platform that I'll show in the follow-up slide. One more slide on a few more examples of what we've seen in the marketplace. This is an example of a supply chain company where they were already an existing Salesforce customer, and they were having a difficult time in servicing and tying in their back-end operations with the external service customer service management portal with their customer service side of the house. So the approach that we took there was Salesforce.com continued to service and was going to be used by the sales and the marketing organization, but the case workers, if you will, were ported on to ServiceNow, where they could easily open and work cases as well as open up and create incident problem change tickets that would work more intuitively with the back end of the operations. Similar situation where healthcare provider needed a solution to manage contracts, entitlements, warranties, service agreements for a large hospitals across the U.S. and they wanted to pay their vendors, run their business using ServiceNow. And this is another example of where customer service management and field service management help. An MSP is a very typical scenario. We have a domain separation, sort of a expertise and practice in the organization, where if you're building out offerings and services and you're onboarding agents based on your offering in different types of, for example, gold service bronze type of offerings for break fix, for onboarding, offboarding users on different different geography and different entitlements are being offered based on the type of subscription that the clients are purchasing. So that we can talk and help you with that if needed. An institution that provided, the last example I'll give is this education sector. This is an example of an institution where they wanted to provide services to different universities and use the customer service management product to manage the different entitlements subscription that they would have to the software and subscriptions to the products that the universities would subscribe to, where the customers would be able to manage the various people working through the ServiceNow portal, managing the accounts and the administration on the customer side, while being able to open and check the sort of the status on the cases and work with the provider at the same time. Now this is a sort of a, I'm going to get the laser pointer here because this is a lot, there's a lot going on here. So I'm going to take this with the grain of, like the mindset there. Not everybody knows what ServiceNow is because we may have people, that are existing customers of ServiceNow and people that are new to ServiceNow. And ServiceNow has, around 10, 12 suite of products that are the circle, the outside red ring in the, the perimeter of this oval shape. And the bulk of the ServiceNow business when it started was in the IT service management. And over time, this product offering has expanded into customer service management, ITOM, or IT operations management, ITBM, or IT business management, SAM, or software asset management, GRC, SecOps, HR, etc. And what we're talking about is just a small piece of this pie, which is customer service management. Now, up until just a little while ago, customer service management and field service management were a single sort of a product offering, but now the two products are separated and they can be purchased independently of each other. And for the lucky few that are still sort of grandfathered, customer service management and field service management will be one. The people that are, or the companies that are going to be interested in, purchasing CSM or looking at CSM will probably end up purchasing CSM and field services as two separate product SKUs. And just to kind of touch on this other areas of non-CSM areas of ServiceNow, when you purchase ServiceNow, the platform, it comes with everything that's in the center here. You get the service portal, the knowledge base, the mobile interface, etc. So all of these are sort of like the platform capabilities, and all of these other applications and the suite of applications overlay on top of the platform. And the value that ServiceNow provides is everything runs and integrates on a single platform, so you don't have a lot of wrench turning going on with integrating external systems for IT service management, for HR, for SecOps, etc. Going to the next slide. From the previous slide, what we're looking at here is the customer service management centric view of the world. What customer service management provides is this omni-channel interface, a central place for you to manage your customer data. That includes accounts, entitlements, contracts, users. You also have ability to link and provide knowledge articles. That includes, any kind of work instructions, user manuals, etc. that the field technicians, for example, might pull up on a tablet while they're working a work order. Case management, and there are two types of cases. There's a traditional case, and now that ServiceNow has also offered case types, so you're able to create the different types of cases in field service management. All of this is natively integrated with the ITSM suite of products in the platform, and those applications, are your standard idle processes or practices, as they're called now: incident, problem, change, catalog, etc. All of these things work intuitively with the platform capability. You've got these modules, service portal. This is where either through an ITSM portal or the customer service management portal, person would come in and request service or request help. Service catalog to pick up like an Amazon shopping type of experience of what they're looking to purchase or order. Mobile interface is supported from iOS or Android device, whether it's a phone or a tablet. This is a new capability in ServiceNow. This is where community can come in, and this is a peer-to-peer, where millions of users, for example, at certain clients like Adobe of ServiceNow, are in a community where hundreds of thousands of articles are being created and shared between the user groups of those products. Agent Workspace is an offering where it makes life easier for an agent to work an incident, a change, a case, depending on what they're assigned to do, without having to swivel chair again between multiple applications. And these things leverage the underlying technology that's sort of layered underneath the platform, like Integration Hub to pull data from other areas, Flow Designer to massage and process the data, Passport to give you a little bit more intuitive way to work those cases or tickets, etc. And all of this is tied to the new technologies that ServiceNow leverages, machine learning, agent intelligence, and so on. Now, we're peeling the onion back a little bit more. As we go into the details of what underlying technologies are being used in customer service management or capabilities being offered, you come through the left-hand side where clients, patients, students, anyone external to your organization is going to come and file a complaint, or you need to onboard a customer, or you want to file a billing dispute, or you want to file a claim, or you want to have a subscription to a service or a product. This is where the portal would come in. This could be, any of these kind of, roles that are listed here. And where customer service management and ITSM differs is here. So here, cases are being worked with external parties to the organization. This is not where, you're doing a break fix in IT, but you're actually servicing and providing support to a client that is your own consumer of your own product or services. And at times, you're working with partners for the customer in resolving that issue. Like I said before in the previous slide, this is an omni-channel interaction. You can come in from phone, chat, portal, etc. And the omni-channel interface drives the cases to any of these areas like virtual agent. You can work with a chatbot and potentially resolve your case, driving and reducing the workload onto the agent. There's also a knowledge integration where if cases are worked, it's an automated sort of a intelligence in the background that says you should consider creating knowledge articles or FAQs to provide self-help capability to drive down the caseload. And as needed, all of this can drive work into operations in the back end, if you will, of your shop, where problem, requests, change incidents, etc., can be created. If there's an issue, for example, where the product has a defect in a code, and for some reason, some future function of a service can't be delivered until that, there's a correlation and a linkage that could be set up for you to be able to work on that. And all of that is driven based on being able to bring in data from a lot of external sources, having a service aware CMDB. You can drive that into an event management console, and take proactive sort of automated tasks. And all of this is possible through an integration hub. And you can also drive, obviously, back-end other business units through the back-end and grow that into facilities, legal, HR, etc. type of business units. Now, why would somebody consider CSM? If you're an ITSM customer, for example, the benefits for CSM is you have a customer portal that drives an omni-channel integration. It provides a rapid resolution to problems. It's going to help you reduce costs. It's going to streamline and integrate into the other systems that we looked at in the previous slide. You're going to have a more collaborative community type of awareness that you wouldn't have with ITSM. And you're going to be able to share and distribute knowledge everywhere. Customer service starts with a person or a place or a product or a problem that somebody external to the organization is going to look help for, and it's going to be tied to a contract or an entitlement in support for a warranty or an SLA that they subscribe to. And what this slide strives to provide is the value that you would receive. You receive an omni-channel interaction 24/7. You drive self-support. You should be able to take and survey and hold your customers on how the quality of services they perceive is being delivered. You can leverage their machine learning, AI type of capability to provide better quality of service, and have a chat feature if you'd like to use that. Now, what ServiceNow provides is also a series of metrics that you can manage and monitor. It can be displayed on dashboards as well. There are dashboards available for service managers, for service owners, for operations manager, and the things that you're providing and looking for when you're delivering service, customer service is your CSAT scores. How well are you doing? Your net promoter score, and your customer effort score. So these are the big ones. The others that you could also look at and monitor through ServiceNow is the dashboard to provide, for example, hey, what is our response time? What is the hold time? What is our handling time? The other things that are non sort of performance related is like tangible things is what is our return rate on a product? What is our error rate? What is our first contact resolution? And there are also perception related metrics. This is where you're measuring outcome over a period, which is what is the average life of a customer or a value that you're going to derive. It's not the first sort of a service agreement for a product that you sell, but the life of the customer. Or it might be a client for a credit card, for example, or a college kid, his life, or referrals that you retain, or referrals that you receive, or the retention rate that you have with a client, return rate. So these are the things that CSM will allow you to manage and report on. I could have a slide on every single bullet on this, but in the lieu of time, I'm going to speak to them and then show as many of the feature functions that I can during the demo. I want to highlight some of the key ones here. Like I said, in CSM, you have the ability to open case, different types of case types. Generally, when we service clients, we start with deciding, what exactly, what is it that they're trying to accomplish and what type of services are being offered. What are those entitlements and contracts look like? How is the service being delivered? Who are the customers? Where does that data reside? All of that plays into this area of customer service management. Agent Workspace, like I said, is just an area where an agent works to kind of work on incident, problem change, work orders, etc., depending on what role responsibility that they have, and not have to swivel chair and jump around different applications or different platforms. Customer Service Portal is a capability where, just like most portals, customers can come in and work with your call centers. Communities, we've already talked about that. Agent Intelligence is where it's an intelligent product where through the portal, customers can request help and potentially, do the self-help through this automated intelligence and not have to even have the case routed through an agent. Mobile is another capability of ServiceNow. There are 4 mobile apps that are available for download for customer service management. You can brand that app to be a white label where you can have your own logo, your own name, your own color scheme to be able to work with cases where customers can work with your product offerings. Virtual agent is what I mentioned earlier, where chat type of a tool can work with a customer, and it's 24/7. It's a paid subscription. So now that reminds me, there are 2 levels of customer service management. There's the customer service management, and second is a pro. So this asterisk next to the features here are derived when you purchase the pro product. You'll have to get with ServiceNow sales account, rep for your account to get sort of pricing and details on that. Knowledge Demand Insight, we've already talked about that. That's where you can use it to resolve cases with knowledge articles that have been created on the past, as well as looking at where you have gaps in that process, gaps in knowledge bases, where you can create knowledge articles and close gaps in the process. You can monitor, and report on the health of a service, and that's assuming you're using and building out a service with configuration items that are in CI, inside of ServiceNow called CIs. There's also a notion of major issue management. That's pretty much in parallel with major incident, if you're familiar with incident management process. This agent affinity or advanced work assignment. This is what I mentioned earlier. We had this client, a global client, where they wanted to be able to drive work 3 shifts all across the world, and depending on if they had an Excel person or an Exchange person or whatever type of a SME coming on, and those 8-hour shifts, and times tracking type of future tied with the skills matrix allow us to say, okay, we've got these cases or these other types of records in the system, and we're going to know that these skills are coming on at a certain time shift, and work would be driven and kind of keyed up for that person. Again, depending on their schedule, depending on their workload, depending on their availability, etc. And there are some other sort of technical things that are listed here. You've got some integrations into Git, integrations into project management if you decide to use that IT business management module of ServiceNow. It's a code extension for offline development. This is sort of things that GSI we end up doing typically. We're called on. These are not product feature functions, but we can make it. Where if you are looking for workforce management, you want to do native billing, invoicing from ServiceNow, we can help you with that. If you have large data that needs to be imported, thousands or tens of thousands of articles and things like that, there are ways to do that in ServiceNow. It's a product capability that needs some additional work. This is an example of what some screen captures of what customer service management looks like, and we'll go into the tool and see it real. Like I had mentioned, portal interface. This is an example of a person looking at the type of support that they're receiving. An example of a person. There's this gamification aspect of ServiceNow where this individual has contributed, articles, videos, whatever it may be, to earn points. So that drives agents to work harder, better, be more productive. There's also the CSM portal, like I mentioned, that can be branded to your company if you're a person. There's the chat feature right here, and this agent sort of, comes through, or you can work with the AI feature as well. Different examples of dashboards here and how that could be laid out. This is very typical of most SaaS products. The way CSM works is, again, this is out of the box, and we configure it based on client's need. But case goes through a series of steps. We create the case gets triaged, case gets worked on, case gets closed or resolved, it's closed, and these are the type of out-of-box states that is provided with ServiceNow. And as cases go through that life cycle, other areas like event management, etc., come into play. And similar to case, customer service management has those similar tools. Product capability. In its product, you can create work orders, work order tasks. This is the way you would schedule technicians to go out and dispatch them to do work in the field. I've worked with people that are in the construction industry, for example, that would dispatch trucks on underground sort of piping projects, cabling projects, etc. Look at jobs and projects that are available, tie that into an ERP system so you're pulling products and materials that are going to be used for the job. You're booking the people and the crews and optimizing their route. You're making sure that the people are, crews are billing against the contracts and all entitlements, et cetera, that have been agreed to as part of the project. You're able to track technicians' work. Where I had a client where shipment and field equipment was a big thing, where we built a QR kind of scanner, and that's an add-on that you can add to ServiceNow for free. You can print out the barcodes, use the tablet or phone through the ServiceNow app to scan that, and you can ship a pallet, you can ship an individual item, and we've done that where you didn't have to buy and add a third-party product. You can also track inventory. So if you've got facilities where you're storing parts, stock rooms, kind of where materials need to be shifted, that can also be handled in field service management. You can have asset tracking, service catalog, knowledge, et cetera, tied to those assets that are being provisioned, service, warranty. This is an important aspect, mobile offline capability for a client. That's also available in ServiceNow. There are some partners that offer various types of add-on in addition to the mobile app, so that capability can be expanded into mobile device management as well if you're interested in tracking subscription, billing, etc. Even when you have a need to manage billing. And so these other things are just, again, more capabilities that we can help you configure. Field service management process, similar to customer service management, goes through these type of stages where you work a work order or a work order task, and then you work through the stages of completion. And these slides are going to be made available after the presentation, so you should be able to go through that in more detail as you need it. Again, some screen captures of field service management product. This is the scheduler. It also has an integration with Google Maps, so you can optimize routes, look at where techs are, look at where clients are, etc. And this is the interface from the mobile. There's an integration hub feature of customer service management. Typical integrations, the case is obviously intuitive, where native to ServiceNow, you can integrate with knowledge, incident, problem, etc. But we can also integrate, and typical integrations that we've seen in a CSM project is the Outlook, telephony, and CTI, so we can make inbound, outbound calls from CSM, Coupa, Remedy, Salesforce that I've already mentioned before. You can do a lot of provisioning through ServiceNow. You can also integrate the billing, invoicing, etc. These are the typical things that we do when we take on a ServiceNow project. For service CSM, we go through a process, technology, kind of a deep dive. We schedule the workshops. We assign the resources. We look at the work structures. We look at what customer data that you're going to be migrating, the service offering, entitlements, contracts, et cetera, that are going to be configured in ServiceNow. We at times help clients develop business cases, approaches, roadmaps, et cetera, and training where needed. And these are the typical sort of high-level steps on a ServiceNow project for us. Once we kick off, we do the workshops, we document the user story, we go through the configuration, and then we go through the testing, UAT, and then go live. ServiceNow Field Service Management, similar process. We would look at the current ERP, CRM, et cetera, tools that you're using, what future functions of field service management similar to CSM that you would like to leverage, and how we would configure those individual sort of applications. And then these are the typical, they're either plugins or features of ServiceNow that we would enable and configure depending on how and what requirements we're block it during the workshop. In the essence of time, I'm not going to go into details for this. I'll show you. I'd like to switch over to the quick demo. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, I can.
This is a very, typical view of ServiceNow. On the left-hand side is referred to as the Navigator. You have your sort of display pane. In the Navigator, all of the applications are listed here for people that have not seen ServiceNow or familiar with ServiceNow. And these are sort of your bookmarks, if you will, in the things that you're going to work with most often. And so, for example, let me start here. For example, these are open incidents. Like incidents, cases are going to be displayed in a very similar fashion, and you're going to look at incident cases, problems change in a view similar to this. And when a case is open, for example, like this one, I'm just going to pick things and kind of give you a flavor of what customer service management is here. And if you want to do a deep dive, please let one of us know, and we can set up a one-on-one type of a demo to do a deeper sort of dive where needed in the future. So this is a case record. In the case record, you have your typical account information, who is going to work on the case on the right-hand side, actions that you can perform on the case, and what is down here are related lists. This is where you can have related lists going into a knowledge article, incident, etc. This case shows it was open for an account Boxio. There's no contract associated with it, but you can add, look up what contract Boxio has, and you can assign a person to it. You can assign a specific asset under the product type if you had one. You can assign a parent case to this. You can assign different case types like I had talked about before, of categories. These are the states that we had talked about in the slides of cases. A case can either end in resolve, closed, or a cancel state. So this is where it ends up after it gets worked on. And then, similar to cases, you have a contract view here. These are example of contracts that have been loaded and set up. This is demo data from ServiceNow for various customers. You can also look at the assets that those contracts can be tied to. These are the customer-specific contacts from Boxio. So again, like I had mentioned, through the portal, for example, if Boxio makes George Warren or Julie Lewis the admin for their account, you don't have to have the burden and overhead of managing the logins and credentials for those account users. That could be passed on to the customer and could be managed by an admin that you designate on the customer side. This is an example of this is an example of a knowledge base. You can create multiple knowledge bases in ServiceNow. And if you create knowledge articles, you can have embedded videos, tasks, documents, etc. And it is typical of Microsoft Word, where you have a sort of a rich text editor type of a view, and you can create and mark articles that are used. You can get stats on who found it useful or haven't been useful, etc. Different types of formatting. There's the gamification aspect. And then I want to go into Agent Workspace real quick because that's a very important feature. So I want to do that as a user and a customer support agent or a person. So this is This is typical for ServiceNow dashboards where you have a dashboard for all different kinds of things depending on what your role is. This is a dashboard for a customer service person where what we end up doing is creating dashboard based on, what type of things that are valuable. This is an out-of-box dashboard we would create, for example, what type of, active cases do you have? Cases sorted out by priority. Cases sorted out by what products or services are being offered. How many daily calls have you received? How many calls for over a certain period, like over 5 minutes or so? How many agents are actively working on a case? Some sort of stats on what is an average hold time, what is the longest wait time type of a thing. So these are highly configurable. I can click on any of these and drill into it. So these are not static, they're clickable and you can go down into those dashboards. This is an example of the agent workspace. So here, Emily, a case, sort of an agent can look at, for example, open cases. A case can be opened. And this is a view of, okay, we're working on an account box here. And we can have notes that show up in these areas where if you've got special instructions, they're called special handling notes on, hey, this account's not doing so great, handle with a, kind of a white glove service, or customer's happy, but you've got some other things you want to kind of bring on, or there's a known issue. All of these are sort of, intuitive things that you can work on a case. Here you can work on and update the record with specific assets, specific contracts, specific entitlements that the person would be requesting service for. You can make your notes, you can make watch list if you've got other things going on. This is where you mark the state of the flight case if you're going to make some additional comments. There are linkage that you can make to other records, for example, work orders, knowledge, etc. You can link to incidents. All of these are sort of highly configurable. Things can be moved around. This is the agent assist that we talked about in the slide, where you can search a knowledge article. Knowledge article could potentially help resolve that issue. For example, if that's a helpful suggestion, you can look into a case and you can make a note and send it over to the customer to try. I want to also show you quickly field services. So these are work order cases. So you can see now I can go from a case to a work order, and I'm not switching between applications. And I can also go back into an incident on the same platform, or I can go into a change, and anything that I've got entitlements to work on here. So this menu would expand as additional roles, responsibilities were assigned to the individual. I can look at, for example, for this work order, similar type of things as in a case. And now I'll go back. I can look at a skills dashboard for a technician. Hey, what are the type of people available to work on an IT problem, or an MRI problem, or a printer problem, or a router problem, whatever happens to be. Another example of a dashboard of who's working on what, the number of things that have been accomplished over a period. Brittany, it's 2:54. Should I hand it back or should I keep going? I think this is what I wanted to show you. Hopefully this gives you an idea.
We have a few more minutes, it's fine.
Okay. So then what I'd like to do then is stop the impersonation. So as we kick off a project, these are so I'm trying to show you what would be needed and required for an implementation, and not necessarily going through the wrench turning or how our developers would load the data and what you would have to do to configure it, but more or less on the mindset of what would be required for a typical CSM field services project. So here are, like I said, contracts that would be loaded. So we would load up and configure contracts. We would load and configure entitlements. So is box you're going to receive 24/7 support for one site, but 24/7 only 5 days a week for another site, or chat only or email only support for some other sites. That's one area. And then I also want to show you the portal, which I haven't done yet. When I come to a customer service portal, I'm logged in right now as an administrator, but you can. This is an example of the chat feature, where I can either chat with a virtual agent or a live agent. I can go into a knowledge base and do self-help. This is a community where millions of users, for some ServiceNow clients, collaborate and share their knowledge. This is the community feature available in CSM. It's not an ITSM feature. Get help is similar to incident. You can request a problem or look at the catalog and things like that here. We can also push out communications through this area if you've got any kind of thing that would go to multiple customers or a customer here. Knowledgebase. I'm sorry, this is not the most populated customer service management portal. Like I said, this is a demo instance, and I wanted to show out-of-box capability than a configured one. So I could go request something here, and I can request. This is the categories. What do I need help with? How can we help you? You go through these asterisk designate mandatory fields, so you have to type in your customer, like box here, for example, etc., and go through the subject and description and submit that for help. You can also look at past the things that have been submitted. So, for example, in work order, these are the work orders that have been submitted by me. These are, again, demo data. This is where a person comes in and you can start working with an agent. You can type a message right here, and this would be relayed over, and you can continue to work with somebody. I want to go back to the cases. So you can also, like work order, look at the cases here. So this is where you can manage and work with the organization providing support. So this is from a customer's perspective. And they can manage the users that would be allowed access to this portal. And if, for example, this emails are not delivered, case was being worked on in parallel or in sort of collaboration, you can make your updates, attach documents, and on the customer side, similar thing. This is not an ITS feature where you can collaborate with partners, third-party kind of client companies, and look at entitlements and contracts tied to a record. So that's where the differentiation would be. If you're kind of evaluating, do I need ITS or do I need customer service management? So I'm going to go back to the ServiceNow tool. Okay, yeah. Field service management. So now, similar to customer service management, these are all of the work orders that have been created. I go into a work order. This is not in the agent workspace. This is just a traditional sort of a record for work order. You can see, I'm sorry, I should start at the top. You can see the workflow for the case, similar to a customer's case. You would have a contact, affected asset, where the location is, etc. Those fields. These work note fields is where I would make notes, either internal or notes that are going to be visible to the customer. And we make this a little bit more intuitive so you can see who's going to see the notes. By default, you're able to type and post into here. We can make this rich text editor as well, so you can make this like a Microsoft Word where you can embed images and videos, etc. in here. So we're at the top of the hour. I'm going to hand this back to you.
Brittany, did you hear that? He turned it back over to you.
Oh, yep. I'm sorry. I was just trying to get my screen to show here. Give me just a second. All right. Thank you, Keaton, so much for. Can you guys see my screen first? Okay. You should be able to. There we go. Thanks, Keaton. And now we're going to just cover a few follow-up items from the webcast, and then we'll move on to our question and answer section.
Okay.
Stay connected with us on social media. All of our handles are currently listed on the screen. You can see our most up-to-date posts on webcast, events, industry insights, and so much more. I'm sorry, I'm having some issues here. GSI provides extensive free educational resources for the ServiceNow community, including our monthly educational webcast, our monthly newsletter called the GSI Insider, our online resource center where you can access our on-demand webcasts, white papers, etc., and then on-site and virtual workshops. If you would like to sign up for any of our upcoming webcasts, our monthly newsletter, or to create an account to access our resource center, go to getgsi.com, go to resources and events on the main menu and select ServiceNow and the appropriate link on the right. And now we will move on to our question and answer section. All right, our first question is from Alex. How do you decide if you need to purchase ITSM or ITSM versus SMFSM product?
So if you are looking at ITSM versus CSM or field services, you have to look at the type of services that you're going to offer, as well as if you're going to have external customers or partners going to work with you. If that's the case, and if entitlements, contracts, and other things are going to be tied to that, you're also going to be interested in leveraging features like community, then you're going to want CSM. If you don't need that, and you're going to do a traditional IT operations type of support, incident problem, break fix, then you can use ITSM.
All right, thank you. And then we have a question from Diane. Can voice to text be supported on mobile?
Yes, it is supported.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending the webcast today. If you have any additional questions, my master information is on the screen, as well as Keaton Shaw. And you can just reach out to them via phone or email for any questions that you have. And then as a follow-up from today's
and you can contact either of us if you need a copy of the presentation or further details. And there is an additional services offering that we're providing 1 day of free consultation. Contact Gene Landmesser if you're interested.
And I'll just pull up that information here again so you have a chance to write it down. And again, we just thank everybody for attending the webcast. There will be a copy of this webcast on our resource center, as well as a link to YouTube will be sent to you to access the video.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.